Hello. It's been a while, but the Truth Mongers are back. We've got one thing that we want to talk about today. It's a little place in Turkey called Gobekli Tepe. What is going on there? It's very interesting, and you're going to find out about it in about 30 seconds. Hey, buddy. How are
Yeah,
you?
good. How are you doing? I've seen you for 30 seconds.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. You okay? I know you've been busy.
Yeah, I've been
Uh,
very, very busy. Sabbatical time right now, but getting back to it now,
yeah,
and we're
yeah.
getting back to the recording of it all. And there's a lot going on right now. As far as Truth Mongers are concerned, we got quite a few things we want to talk about this year. I guess it's our second season, I guess.
Yeah, yes, it will be.
And
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody first off that's been watching our videos. We haven't had one out in probably about 8 months to a year,
Yeah, more
and
like a year.
it's been about a year, and I can't believe how many people have been watching. It's incredible the numbers that we've, especially the Black Knight episode. We've just been thousands and thousands of views. I'm glad that people are watching it and commenting and just being part of the conversation. This isn't a conspiracy theory. Uh, it's
You
not.
know,
It's a thoughtful working through it in your mind show.
considering the success of the last series
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
views we've had,
yeah.
people, it might occur to people that we we might know what we're talking about.
Maybe. It's scary,
I'm not sure about that, but they seem to
right?
think so.
Well, I mean, we put out the facts and then you decide. It's not
Yeah,
meant to be, forced down your throat and saying, "Hey, you gotta listen to us. This
yeah,
is
but
what's
yeah.
happening." It's
This
not
is what
like
you
that.
have to do. You have to listen and research and make up your own mind and
Right.
try and leave your bias at the door and your supposition and whatever, and just get into it and just research it all and have a good time.
It's a
See
it's
what you
a
come up with.
session in critical thinking. Is
Yeah,
basically what it is. And that's, we try to bring up
and
a
and
couple different
and
perspectives.
and you don't need an answer. It's just
No.
you just have to understand the question. Sometimes you don't need an answer.
Yeah,
just think about it.
ponder the possibility of it, and see what you think. And we might be way off the mark, but at least it's an interesting conversation that hopefully gets your mind working a little bit, not to the point where it's obsessively taking you down a rabbit hole that you'll never come out of. Um,
That'd be
but
easy to do.
Right, it would be, because it's fascinating. Some of the things we bring up and this is what Truth Mongers is all about. So my name's Ted Davies. I'm an artist and author, and I do a lot of different things this YouTube channel, and we welcome you. If you like and subscribe, that would be awesome. We would appreciate it greatly. Glenn, who are you? Tell everybody who you are.
I'm Glenn Fleming. I'm a writer, artist, and publisher. I used to be a graphic designer for 40 years. I've done photography, documentary maker. I do it all. I draw comics, illustrations, I paint, I write, I do everything I possibly can. And I have
Yep.
a long time to do it because I don't sleep too often. I think I've had 9 hours since 1977.
Wow. I need sleep. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how
I
you do it.
didn't say I didn't need it. I just said I
Right.
don't get it.
Got it. I've been fortunate enough because I sleep rather well, and it's even with these interesting conversations we have, I still sleep well. So, you know,
Well, it
um,
doesn't take me long. I go to sleep and then wake up after about an hour. And if I
really,
start,
okay.
yeah,
Well,
if I start thinking, I get up, and it's 1:30,
mhm.
in the morning. So
I'm sure a lot of our listeners are the same way. I think that we're
yeah,
probably all in the same boat.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. Well, I think this is an interesting topic today. If you guys have any topics that you're interested in too, let us know. Please, in the comments, feel free to give us some ideas, because we're always looking for different adventures and intellect, trying to find a path on some discovery on some of this. Some of the crazy things that are on this planet or outside of this planet. But today we're going to be talking about Gobekli Tepe. And you want to tell people a little bit about that, Glenn, before we start
Yeah.
with pictures and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's about 100 miles north of the Syrian border,
Right.
southeast Turkey.
Right.
There it is.
Yep.
And it was uncovered only in 1963, which is in my lifetime. But apparently, I'm not sure how they found it, but they were digging there and they found it. And its similarities to places that we're going to talk about is incredible. But the thing about one of the most intriguing things about the Gobekli Tepe is that they've only uncovered 5% of it. They've done those radar things and whatever it is they do in the air to X-rays and whatever it is, and they've uncovered 5%, which is quite incredible. But they do know, or I believe they know, that it's 11,000 years old.
Minimum of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe
at least 9,000 years old.
Right. Here's a aerial shot. They've since put a walkway above it, and a canvas tent, I guess. I'm not sure if it's canvas or what it is, but it's to stop the erosion and everything else that's happening there, and people walking all over it, because it's still a work. It's obviously an archaeological dig still there. But this doesn't do it justice. It is huge. It's a massive complex.
And they've uncovered already 200 pillars.
Correct.
They're all this strange T-shape, which reminded me immediately of Stonehenge, even though the Stonehenge rocks have been placed upon the top. These some of them, seem to have been cut in a T-square, a T-shape. So I'm not sure if that's right. I might have that wrong. They might have been placed on top, but it's intriguing to me because, like I said, it's like Stonehenge, and the statues, as we might call them, are the same kind of design as Stonehenge, in the same height.
Right.
Somewhat 15, 20 feet high.
Yeah, and they're monoliths, for lack of a better word.
Monolith. That's a better word. Yeah, that's a great word.
We'll get to the. Well, let's get into the cuttings and the reliefs and that, just to see some of them. They were saying they were actually, these are, if you look at the actual way these are engraved, they're actually coming out of the stone.
Yeah, they're in relief. Yeah,
correct.
They are pictograms, and they have got things on like lions and donkeys, and then it's only thought because of these monoliths that that lions were in that area.
Right. Right, exactly. Why don't you bring up the real interesting fact on this? It's the same relief, if I'm not mistaken, just the full length of it. Tell people what you see there.
Well, at the top, I think we covered this in one of the shows in the last season. We at the top, there's what are known as handbags. If you look at there's three shapes there, and there's a hand on in the middle one. Well, there's a hand on them all, isn't there? They're these handbags, and that kind of image is found, in the pyramids in Egypt, and on some of the ziggurats in Peru.
Yes.
So that's a common design, and there's no doubt that it's the same thing. It's not a coincidence. When you see them side by side, they are the same thing. So if you imagine where's Turkey, Peru must be what, 6,000 miles to the west, and then there's these guys. You could sort of think, well, it's Turkey. They might get them in Egypt because it's not as far.
Maybe
they've got to cross an ocean to South America to these guys. So
correct.
Something's going on.
Fascinating stuff. Here's another, but it's more difficult to do a relief like this than it is just to carve something in the stone.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, I want to stress that, because people don't, if you're not familiar with any type of rock formation, engraving or anything like that, this is a completely different animal, literally.
Yeah. That creature in the middle is interesting because it looks there's another. I don't know whether you've got the image, but it's like a dinosaur to me. that
Right.
head and the
I
teeth
didn't
on it.
download that, but yes, you're right.
It's more
You're
like a
absolutely right.
dinosaur. So what's going on there? You know, those guys are supposed to be dead for millions of years.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what that is. But
Interesting. Well, maybe that, again, this is all speculation right now, and we'll go through that a little bit deeper too on the.
yeah, I tell you something that I always find interesting about these sites, whether it's Göbekli Tepe or the pyramids or Easter Island or Peru, all these places.
Mhm.
They're always carved in stone, literally carved in stone. And what's the thing that lasts the longest on the earth? You know,
Right.
I would imagine
I
stone
mean, that's
and
by
water.
choice.
You
I'm
know, yeah.
sure that's by choice.
So I think it's a statement. I
Yeah.
think it's to say, look, we were here, type of thing.
Well, and that, let me bring this up first, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on it, because there's a couple interesting things too about the site. This is fascinating to me.
Yeah,
This was actually, and this is a true. Um, this is done by the stars, literally, because it's true north.
yeah,
It's not magnetic north. So
yeah.
when to have that, you really have to understand the heavens,
Astronomy and
literally.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
to. If you notice here, and thank you, earthsunexposure.com. I got this from their website. Thank you for letting us use this. You'll see the different ley lines that cross the make the path in this facility. So you'll see the to Nazca up on the top left corner. You see all these different directions to where they literally shoot towards other connecting facilities,
yeah,
for the lack of a better word. I consider them facilities because I think that this was a collective conscious effort to harness whatever energy or whatever it is, communications, whatever it was, throughout the planet. I mean, I honestly, there had to have been some calculated measures that they took to be this precise with everything. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm going to say that I'm just going to, underline what you said about the astronomical alignment of all these sites throughout the world, not just this one. They all
Mhm.
link up with each other, and they all link up with the stars,
Correct.
as the stars were 10 or 11,000 years ago.
Hmm.
Which must be, you must bear that in mind, because north changes, doesn't it, and all that kind of thing, because of the movement of the stars. Well, they're all lined up to almost the same event, if it was
Hmm.
an event, the same alignment. It's incredible to look at these things and not. I find it difficult to come away with the opinion that they're not related, which
Yeah,
has
they've got to be. They've got to be.
which asks another thousand questions, doesn't it?
Right. Why?
Well, if these things are aligned with true north and all that kind of thing, like the pyramids, and I just said
Hmm.
the pyramids are 1,000 miles away across land, you could walk from this place to the
Hmm.
pyramids. Well,
Hmm.
you can't walk from this place to Easter Island without crossing. You got to cross a couple of oceans to do that, and they all seem to be um, pointing at the same thing. And one thing I wanted to mention
Hmm.
with Easter Island is that the Moai on Easter Island are all supposed to have been carved in 600 AD.
Hmm.
So if you can get Göbekli Tepe to line up with Easter Island in terms of its history, it means those Moai that I saw and
Hmm.
touched are 12,000 years old.
Yeah, and I think that they probably are.
I think they are, yeah, and the
I think
pyramids and all that kind of
we've
thing.
discussed. If you haven't seen our talk on the pyramids, we discussed that. I thought that they're much older than what
Yeah,
they are stated. So
yeah.
why not? Why wouldn't they be at the same era? The Moai or whatever. They're all
Yeah,
the. I mean, I think they're all
I,
connected in
I
some way.
think back in 10 or 12,000 years ago, when these things were being constructed, I believe that the oceans were smaller. It
Mhm.
wasn't such a big deal to, I mean, I'm 3,000, 4,000 miles from you, and three
Yeah,
thousand miles of that is ocean.
yeah.
I think the water levels were much lower, and the contact and civilization and trade, all that kind of stuff. I think that was going on. The world was thriving, and they had these. I don't know whether they're religious, these things, or some kind of connotation, but they all seem to point to somebody coming down from the sky.
Hmm.
The big guys, the big giant guys, and all
Yeah.
those. And there's also, I think it's on Göbekli Tepe, on one of the reliefs, there are creatures that we don't know what they are.
Right. Right.
So why would they do all those lions and donkeys and scorpions and all those things that are on those reliefs, and then just throw in a couple of random designs because the guy wanted to draw some kind
Mhm.
of creature? They're all representations of what was around at the time, I believe.
Sure. And I think that there's I don't see why there wouldn't be. I've watched a couple things on this, and I know that you guys can deep dive on this too.
There's tons of it.
There's tons of information on YouTube, just on YouTube, on this different historical, both documents and documentaries, excuse me, and then also investigations, kind of like what we're doing right now, by people that are way, way past our pay grade. This is, this is just not a hobby to us, but this is a very novice way of looking at.
I think if you seek out Klaus Schmidt, the German,
and he's the
German
gentleman
guy,
that discovered in 1994.
He spent 20 years, the last 20 years of his life covering this. And also, if you look at Graham Hancock stuff, I think we always mention Graham because he's brilliant. He's a brilliant man.
Fantastic.
And he's been around. He's been to these places. We haven't been to the.
Yeah, he actually was literally Klaus walked him around, and they spent days together on the site to. So yeah, I think Graham is really just a incredible source.
I think we should try and get Graham on the show and just have the show to him.
Sure.
We'll just sit and listen.
I'll get a hold of his people. Let's see what we can do. Maybe we can have it happen. We'll put it in the description. If you guys know Graham or if know how to get a hold of him, let us know. And we'd love to have him on to talk in all seriousness about all different kinds of things. But definitely Gobekli.
The thing about Klaus Schmidt was that he said that it would take 20 years to carve the 200 pillars that they found at Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah.
And they're made in a smaller time frame than that. They're cut from limestone, aren't they?
Correct.
They're cut in a smaller time.
Nope.
It's like the pyramids. We said about the pyramid. It took 20 years to build that thing. It was, and if you work it out, it's laying a 2.5 ton rock every 3 minutes or something.
Yeah,
without mishap. And the other thing that nobody meant, just to finish on the pyramids, because we're not talking about that, obviously, there are two others on the side of it, and nobody talks about their construction.
Yeah, right.
There's three of them.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, and we're basing it on our knowledge of our physical,
our technology. Yeah.
Correct, and our physical beings too, of who we are. If we look at it, if we step back a bit as an artist, you step back from your canvas and you look at the artwork, right? The same thing goes for me. I look at it. Well, let's look at it from a different perspective. Look at it from maybe a person that's larger in proportion. What if it, if you want to call them giants, whatever, what if it was just a larger being, literally, that was just who they were. That's how they were made. That's their physique, the physique and everything else. Big deal. I mean, that literally, it could change a lot of things on how, and they were, I've heard cynics and critics talk about, well, where are all the tools? Where are all the pottery? Where's all, it's not, it doesn't matter. They had a different type of technology. And in a lot of the cases, I don't know, they talk about it being human sacrifice areas, blah, blah, blah. They found skulls and okay, I get all that. Okay, that's fine. And there might have been later in time, maybe some brutal things that happened there. Yeah. But still, I think that these systems, if you want to call them that, of these facilities, did something that enlightened something about our experience here. Whether they awoken certain parts of our brain that we don't have use of anymore, that we did a long time ago. That's one of the things I am very intrigued about that, because let me finish this one statement and then I'll let you go with it. Gobekli was covered up. There wasn't erosion. There wasn't water over it. This thing was buried for a reason. And I firmly believe that there must have been powers that be or whatever. What's the first thing you would do to take over is get rid of the technology. It's the first thing. You get rid of the communications, whatever. That would be the first thing. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to, get everybody freaked out, but it would make a lot of sense to me, not to hide it, not to hide the technology, but to bury it, get rid of it, not to hide it from somebody else, but for them not to steal it, but to actually cover it up so that you cannot use it anymore. You don't even know what it is. That's my thought.
I can go with that, but you must remember also that if you didn't want anybody to use it or find it, the best thing to do would have been to destroy it. Because if you bury it, there's a chance that somebody could uncover it, which is what's happened.
Or they leave, they buried it to come back to use it later.
Well, there's always that sort of stuff, I guess. So. You were saying before about a raise in intellect. I don't think it's that. I think it's a knowledge. I think the human brain is pretty much formed and has been for a million years.
Mm-hmm.
It's the knowledge of how to do things. So in other words, if you took away all the aircraft in the world and destroyed them, there's nothing there, no planes, no paperwork, and everybody died and there was no planes, they would still find a way to do it in 10,000 years' time. Because we still have the brain. When the Wright, were the Wright brothers suddenly more brainy than anybody else when they discovered flight? Well, they didn't, or they weren't, were they?
Well, and we've talked about the Akasha records and that. We talked about the energy that's encasing the earth that inspires us in our thoughts, and we can download this. We've talked about that and other things. I don't see why. Here's my thing. We're talking on a system on our computers right now that are based in silicon. They've got sand, basically, is what it is. And we're downloading information on these crystals. You can dump a ton of memory into a crystal, tons and tons and tons of memory. Our brains have crystals in them. If people don't know, they do. It's part of who our brain makeup. If these, and it sounds crazy, but if they had that technology, if you could be around these places and feel elevated, or you could download this information wirelessly, just like we do with the internet now, why couldn't it heighten? Here's my thing. If you're going to bring people to the point where they can be controlled in that, but these places all interconnected were something of an enlightening, making more people aware and more people able to do some amazing calculations, everything else, it would be the perfect place. Dumb down the population. How do you do that? Get rid of technology.
Yeah, but don't forget, that would mean that the population knew about it.
Well, when you only have a lifespan of 35 years, though, at that time frame, it would take one generation, 2 generations, and you'd forget about it. You wouldn't even.
No, that's not what I mean.
What do you mean?
Look at all the UFO research that we've done.
Yeah.
And where that happens in the United States. So there's a lot. I'm not saying these little green men are flying around this spaceship, because I don't think they are.
Yeah.
But people don't know about it. People don't care. We're making it out. You're suggesting that people care. People don't care. Look at what's going on around the world right now. People don't care as long as they've got their pizza delivered tonight. And I would imagine that the people of the time were the same, and they would be even not less interested, but less knowledgeable, because people didn't have written language then and all that kind of thing. And they couldn't read, but the scholars could always do that kind of communication thing. So I'm not so sure that everybody walking around on the earth would know about the ley lines in Nazca when they lived in what we call Morocco. Mm-hmm. And if they did, they'd say, "Oh, so what? What's for dinner?"
What if they had so what if there's civilizations that did, and there were civilizations that didn't? So the ones that were plugged into this technology.
No, you've got the common. I think you've got the common people. You've got the power. And it doesn't matter how big a government is or a controlling force is. It's still never as big as the entire populace. Mm-hmm. So we think we're pretty switched on, don't we? We've got computers and cars and aeroplanes and spacecraft, and But look at what's going on. We're still fighting each
Still
other,
fighting, yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'll go on forever, that, I think. But that's a different thing. But I don't think that everybody would know about these things. I don't think everybody was what some guy who was up in out in Mongolia isn't
Mhm.
thinking, oh wow, there's these statues on Easter Island, and they look at the stars, you know. And I don't think they would know that. I think that there's the powers, you know, of the time, whether
Mhm.
they're religious or whatever they do,
Mhm.
they're the ones who know, because knowledge is power, right? If you know everything, you're the winner. Knowledge is power, and so you've got.
You're supporting what I just said.
No,
So
I'm
if you
talking
got
about everybody,
okay.
but everybody doesn't know what we
Mhm.
know. We don't know what other people know.
Okay. Right. But if you go back to what I was saying,
Okay.
if they had a system that you did know by going to these places, all you had to do was hang out in these places and you would be
But maybe,
literally you could download whatever you wanted. You go to this monolith, it's got the bull and the whatever, and you're in front of it, and all of a sudden you got all this information, oh, hey, I got it now. I understand. I read a book. I got it. It's like first thing you do is you burn the libraries, you burn the books.
yeah,
That's the first thing you would do to take over because it's a technology that people can learn from. If you have a power that wants to come in and take over, they're going to bulldoze that
yeah,
and they
okay,
did it systematically across the globe. It wasn't just they did it with the pyramids, they did it with this, they did it, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there as a curveball to say, well, maybe Ted might have something there. Maybe he's crazy, but that's fine. Maybe I
I,
am, but I'm just saying it's just
I
interesting.
still think that not everybody would know, because some guy living up in Oslo in Norway is not going to be bothered
Well,
about
the
Peru.
population was smaller too then.
Yeah, but it was still all over the world, because
I
these things
think
are everywhere.
I think that there was more to it though than just, and I think that the reason why we're in the spot that we're in today is because these things were covered up.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I think that we're very simple. There's a lot of you were this is an interesting argument or debate because you've got you get inspired by certain things.
yeah,
You've
sure.
come up with certain things, and you and I don't know where they come from. When we write, when we draw, a lot of the stuff I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah,
My experiences, whatever, I get that, but
yeah.
there's certain things that we can. It just and then why do four people have the same type of idea over the course of? Hey, man, I thought of that. I should have written that down. Whatever, and then you
Yeah,
see it being produced.
yeah.
It's just interesting that
That
yeah,
you're
but
talking about consciousness, then, aren't you? Because it's like, from what I know, it's why that weapons, especially weapons like bows and arrows and
mhm,
spears, and I mean, I imagine that if you had a timeline of, the caveman, he would throw a rock at a gazelle, then he would devise a spear, and then he would make a bow and arrow, and it
mhm,
all escalates. But all those things were happening at the same time. That's why the ancient Romans didn't have nuclear weapons,
yeah,
when everybody was just using swords and bows and arrows. And
sure.
I can understand what you're saying and agree that it's sort of the collective that's in the air, and it sort of filters in, and somehow the brain, you know,
Or you're connected, like we talked about on other shows with Comics Unlimited and that,
yeah,
other
the
things that we
source
do.
and all
Jack
that.
Kirby, Tesla, all these. If there's some type of way that these facilities resonated so that you could download the information wirelessly, if you want to call it that, versus this, versus on the internet or whatever. It could have been an ancient internet if you want to call it that. I'm
Yeah,
just saying the idea though that if a power came in and wanted to knock out the masses of people becoming enlightened or whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
intelligent, this would be the way to do it.
right.
You systematically take out, that's why you have
But
places like,
who is that?
I
What
don't
is
know.
that?
I don't know.
What is
I
that
have no
force?
idea. That's a whole nother truth mongers. I
And
have no
then
idea.
they would have to have the wherewithal and the means to do it.
Correct. Correct.
And then
So
don't forget, some of it might have been done naturally. Like if you imagine like Easter Island again, it's the remotest place on earth.
sure.
So I don't think the water was that deep all that
No, I
time ago
agree
when
with you.
these things were
I
made.
agree with
I'm
you.
not saying people were walking there over land, but there was a lot more land to walk before
Yeah.
they got to the sea or the ocean or whatever it was.
How big is Gobekli? How large did you say?
I think it's, I've got to note it down somewhere. It's not very big. I can't remember.
Okay, so it's the size of Stonehenge.
Oh
What
yes,
you said.
yes, yeah, I've got it here. Yes,
Okay.
it's like Stonehenge. Yeah,
Okay, so in order to bury that, to bury it, it would
yeah,
take an incredible amount of earth, first off,
yeah,
not to mention the the machinery, if you want to call it that,
yeah,
to
yeah.
cover it up. So this is a huge event, not event. This is a huge, literally burial. I mean, I don't know how you
Well,
could do that.
there's a
It,
bigger one than that, though, isn't there?
hmm,
Don't forget, they've only uncovered 5% of it.
right. And
And this is,
there's like 14 sites in the area. Well, I want to
yeah,
say within a few miles of or a few hundred miles of each other,
yeah.
which is insane. So regardless of, there's got to be a reason why this technology was covered up. Now, having said that, there's a reason why they put it on stones or put it in stones. I would bet you that most of these stones have a high crystal count or something in them. I'll put money on it. Also, they also knew, the people that created it, or the beings that created it, also knew that it would outlast them
Yeah.
because it was built on stone. There's a reason why people are buried with headstones. It's not because so that you're not forget them. I mean, that's the same. It's the same concept, really, when you think about it.
So you're saying that these stones might be one of those, just a memory stick.
Yeah, I absolutely,
Isn't it funny?
absolutely.
What's that shape like?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's
Right,
like a,
right.
so to put a couple of pieces on an ankh, so that might be
Right,
to do with that.
exactly. And you're in there. You are. It's a handbag. Um, yeah, I think that there's. I think that we're. I don't think that we're far off from the idea, though. That I think that I don't like using the word cover up, but I think that there might have been something that happened to where the powers that be or whatever, whoever decided that they wanted to take over, that was the mandate. That was what they did.
So I'm sort of coming around to
Just throwing it out there, you know.
I'm coming around to the way you're thinking because we I think that currently we're being dumbed down.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
this
agree
would
with
be a
that.
massive dumb down, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yes.
People were just getting we're getting a bit too free, maybe a bit more harder to control.
Yeah. And that's what I'm getting at. So now you've got a populace that has, oh man, listen, they've got a facility now that they just built in Gobekli. We can go there and we can learn and I'm just saying that there's that would be very, for the status quo today. If we had an opportunity like that, it's like the internet. If
Yeah.
we, it's like doors are wide open now. You can
Yeah.
learn so much. It's affecting universities. It's affecting all these
Well,
dynamics. I mean, can you imagine?
We wouldn't be talking to each other if it wasn't for that kind of thing.
Correct. But also there's it's just a thought. That's all. There's had to be some reason why these things, okay, they're also, there's been studies at Gobekli that talk about where agriculture started. They
Yeah.
believe this is one of the first civilized areas that agriculture was started. Now we know that we just didn't come out of the dark, literally wake up one morning and start agriculture. We know we
Mhm.
were taught by somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, it's pretty common thought that somebody must have taught us about agriculture. It wasn't just something we woke up with. It's like fire. We just didn't wake up with fire. We had
Yeah.
to be taught. So something happened. Somebody was involved, some being, whatever you want to call it, that showed us in a good way. And they meant it for, I think, for the right intent, whatever they were, whether they were living beside us or they came here, whatever it was. Maybe they were here
Yeah,
before us.
they could have given the information and said, right, we're going now. You do with this
Yeah,
information whatever,
exactly.
and then greed set in and all that kind of thing.
Right. And maybe it is an experiment. Maybe these beings did all this and then it went awry and they said, okay, we can't do this. We're going to have to just cover this stuff up and get out of here. And maybe that's what they did. Maybe they did it themselves. Who knows? But I think that as we further along and we figure out how Stonehenge really works and how Gobekli Tepe really works, not just as an astronomical deal, but maybe that there's some type of way that we can download the information that are on these stones or in the stones, maybe as a hard drive, if you will. I think that that's really powerful. I think that we're just finding, there's we're still learning about resonance and all these, sound technology and all these things that we don't know much about. We're just learning it. We're infancy stage of it, like we talked about with the pyramids, about sound, how it possibly created moving blocks and all that. There's all kinds of things that we don't really understand it yet. We're just discovering it now. And I think that that's what's so intriguing about these sites to me.
I think that getting back to Klaus Schmidt.
Yeah.
I've not read any of his work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do, but do you know what he was doing? Why he was there? Because I know that Göbekli Tepe was discovered in 1963, as we said earlier.
I don't know what he was doing there. No, I have no idea.
Which is quite scary because that's sort of in my lifetime, certainly, and just before yours.
Yeah. I mean, it's 21 years between 31 years. Excuse me.
31 years before
Wow.
Klaus Schmidt.
Wow.
But I would imagine that's all down to the red tape of having to go there and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Because it just seems to me like with the guy in Egypt, their job just seems to be to stop you going.
Oh yeah.
For as long as they can. But I just wonder. Well, you don't know. It's a pointless conversation, this part, because we don't know why he went there and what led him to there. He must have read about it, but anyway, that's as far as I know about Klaus Schmidt. I know he spent a lot of time there. He was responsible for finding a lot. Then they've not dug it up yet. Will they ever? I doubt they'll dig it up in our lifetime.
They might. If enough, well, it depends on the political stance and everything of the area. They might not let them, it's like Egypt. They stopped. The historical, society had them stop a lot of the pyramid, it's all politics when it comes down to it, what they want you to know, what they don't want you to know. There's some of these investigators is what I call, he's a doctor. Klaus was, they have this unimaginable draw to these places. You remember in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, when he's got the mashed potatoes and he's making and that he can't get it out of his head. So I've heard this a lot, where some of these both men and women, they have to go there. There's no, they have to do it in their lifetime. They have to be there. They have to go. They have no reason. They don't even know why. So all of us have a role to play, I'm sure. I think that he probably had that. He probably had that draw.
I can identify with that, because I've been wanting to go to Easter Island since I was 11.
Sure.
And I finally got there, and so I'm not probably as driven as him to go to everywhere. But I think we're all probably driven to do something. Who was you're writing, I'm writing, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Who was the guy that got on the raft and went to Polynesia? Who was that guy?
Thor Heyerdahl.
Yeah. So he had the same thing.
Yeah, Norwegian explorer.
He was so right. And he had, go figure, him. Why would you go there? Why would you he had this draw that he just could not.
As I've said to you, apart from my teacher who read the book, Thor Heyerdahl is the reason I knew about Rapa Nui.
Right.
And I went there,
because of him.
Sure.
The adventure. Sure. But for them, I really think that they really can't explain it. They can't explain it's like Tesla. He couldn't explain why he wanted to work the way that he did. And the things that he did, he just had he felt like he was plugged into something.
Yeah.
And he was getting messages or whatever you want to call it. But I think that there's more to it than all of it. I think that we would really know. And I think that I don't think that the hunter-gatherers of that time with Gobekli and all that, I don't think they were as dumb as they thought. but that as
No.
we think that they were.
See,
I think
see,
that they were very enlightened. Uh,
you get labeled hunter-gatherer. It sounds like you're just running around with a spear catching
right,
things.
right,
And I'm sure
right,
they were a lot of the time because they'd have
right.
to eat. And that's why they
Sure,
created
sure,
agriculture to get grain and stuff like that,
sure,
and change the diet and all that kind of thing. But yeah, that's what happens. You get labeled, like you get labeled conspiracy theorist
sure,
because you
sure.
think that there are
And we
UFOs or
do,
whatever.
yeah, we do that. I
Yeah.
mean, I
And
get sent books in the mail or whatever about different
well,
conspiracies, and it's like
you must have
it's
you
not
must
that,
have
it's just thought,
you
you
must
know?
have been at somebody's house having dinner or in the pub, so to speak, and you mention this kind of thing, and people look at you like you've got four heads
Yeah, yeah.
that's because they're not as smart,
Well,
right?
they're just not inquisitive. That's all. They just don't think the same. They just don't have that same
It's just,
thought pattern, and that's okay.
well,
There's no. I'm a problem solver. That's my
the people I've met just don't think. Never mind think the same, but there you
yeah.
go.
I mean, you and I mean, a lot of us as authors that are tuned in that we problem solve. We write stories because we're trying to solve the problem to the story. It's like with artwork, we have we're constantly trying to finish that puzzle, if you want to call it that. And this is the same thing. The
I'll tell
truth
you what it
monger is
was.
the same
I think
idea.
I think
So
it was JFK who said, or it might have been Bobby, said, "Some men see the world as it is and say why. I dream things and say why not."
yeah, yeah,
And that's the difference, because a lot of people just want the pizza delivering.
right. Well, and I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a reason for a lot of this. It has to be. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense that all these things are here, and we don't have answers for it. There's
Yeah.
a reason why we don't have an answer for it. It's either because it's not been told or it's been hidden from us. That's it. So now we have to figure out which is it. Okay. And you know what? They always say the truth will set you free. Okay, what
I
happened?
will. It will.
Why is it so scary? I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, okay,
Can't be.
all right. So
Can't be free, Ted. It can't be free. That's the point of it all, isn't it?
oh, that's what I'm getting. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. All
Mm.
right. So how could this technology enlighten all of us? Not just enlighten us, I mean, spiritually, but how could it help? How could we I
I,
mean,
I, I
it would
think,
affect the status quo, and
yeah.
that's what the thing is.
So
So,
somebody. This is my opinion. Somebody has to be in charge,
yeah,
and somebody
I get
wants to
that.
be in
I get
charge,
that. I get
and
that.
a lot of people don't care who's in charge. That's why the people get in. I just think it would be that life would be a lot better, but maybe we get lazy. Maybe people get lazy, like all empires fall from within. Look at the Roman Empire,
Mhm,
400 years. Look at the British Empire, that's crumbling now,
mhm.
and we get lazy. Maybe we're not supposed to get lazy. If there's enough to eat, enough to drink, free energy, Tesla, what do we do? What do we do all day? Like I'm convinced that somewhere somebody's got a machine that would really help me. Stick my head in it for an hour, and I've got 8 hours sleep induced. But what would I do? Well, I've got lots to do because I do it. But most people, what would they do? Watch the telly all day and all night.
Well, they've been programmed to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, but I also, I'll be the first one to say that I enjoy taking an hour and just going to YouTube and just going
yeah,
down the list of what I wanna watch.
yeah,
But I do it, for a informative, not
yeah.
for
But you're
just
not watching some silly soap. You're watching
no, but there's
something to get.
times
You're
that
trying to get knowledge.
there's times that I wanna just veg
Yeah.
out and watch a silly show,
Yes, I quite
too.
agree. I
And
quite agree.
that's entertainment because I think you need that.
Yeah, because
Um,
life's hard, and you need some
but
sort of like just forget it and just watch some trash.
right. I mean, people do this, their addictions on every level, right? So you've
Mhm.
got whether it's alcohol or drugs or news or whatever, pornography, whatever. There's all kinds of things that distract you from what
Well, I think mine
your
must be
purpose is
knowledge.
here, right? Hmm?
Mine must be knowledge. I like to research things and get in there and get to the meat of it.
Sure.
But
Well,
you
and
must.
your books are fascinating because they have a different perspective on the investigations or on the problems. I mean, your moon book was great because it talked about the astronauts that never made it to the moon. You
Yeah,
know, freaking awesome. Who would have done that? You know, there's all kinds of things that I think that we don't know, and that's what's so cool about the Truth Mongers, is because we try to find different avenues. And I think that's why people liked the Black Knight episode, because it's still there. It's still floating
Yeah,
around there, and they still don't
yeah.
know we haven't been told what it is. So,
I'll tell you what's
and it's
scary.
it's intriguing. It's intriguing to people.
I'll tell you what's scary about the Black Knight is the fact that
Mm,
it might not pass over your head, but it's only ever 250 miles above your head.
yeah,
Uh, Gobekli Tepe is 3,000 miles away. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah,
So space is only 80 miles up. So you're
yeah.
near it all the
And it's a
time.
thin layer
Yeah,
between space and air. I mean, it's a
yeah,
very thin layer. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah. So I mean, Gobekli is a fascinating site. I think that they're just at the tip of the iceberg. I mean, literally. I mean,
About
we don't know who.
5%.
Yeah, we don't know who created it. We don't know what it was used for. We can speculate, but nobody really knows. I mean, if you
I think
guys, in the discussion, I mean, go ahead and talk about it. I mean, in the comments, let us know what you think.
there's one thing I get from all this, the
Mhm.
Göbekli Tepe and the pyramids and Easter Island and Nazca and all those places, that it's the same people doing it
Yeah,
at the
it's the
same
same
time.
group. I mean,
At least 10,000 years ago,
you've got the
probably.
watchers, you've got the builders, you've got they're
And,
absolutely, somebody knew
and
the technology and they trained their people, and that was
well, it's
yeah,
like you said, we didn't just wake up one
no,
morning and know
no,
how to control fire or to grow grain.
yeah,
This takes hundreds of years, allegedly,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
and with a
but if some
lifespan of only 35 years at the time, technically, I don't know if that's true or not, but
that's what they say.
that's what they say. So, I mean,
But they also say that these things aren't connected.
correct. And
And I see that, and I
they're
see those
obviously
I
connected.
see those handbags in relief
Sure.
in Turkey and in Egypt and in Peru.
Well, and you see, if you notice, the Gobekli is the same shape, almost like a resonance pattern, like in South Africa. They've got them all over the place there.
Yeah,
And these are all these circular. You can look on it and check it all out. I mean, it's amazing. Dr. Mike Tellinger, uh, has gone through South Africa. He has a place in South Africa that is an amazing take on all of these. They called them, if you can believe this, cattle corrals, where they thought that they would put their animals. And he's like, no. He said they're everywhere, and he says they all have different frequencies. And you go in, and they all have energy coming out of the earth at that point. He said the same thing goes for the rest of the world. They've got these things on ley lines for a reason. They're
yeah,
harnessing energy that's coming out of the earth naturally.
yeah.
So there's got to be some connection with all of it, uh, whether it's a technology that we can download information from mentally or whatever. There's got to be a connection somehow, or maybe it's just communication. Maybe we're just able to talk back and forth to each other in these.
I,
I mean, there's all kinds of things that could be.
I also think the sort of power, the power batteries, aren't they? The pyramids, the
Sure,
harness energy.
they're
And I
condensers.
just
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
I just wonder if there's also gateways to other places.
Why not? Why wouldn't it
You
be?
know,
Yeah. I mean, and maybe we're not supposed to know about it. I mean, that's okay too. That's fine. I mean, like I said, we all have our roles to play. It would just be nice to. I just want to think about the possibilities, not to scare anybody, but just okay.
yeah,
What if this did happen? Okay, cool. All right. What if this? And it happens organically because you end up literally going down these rabbit holes of learning, and you can either get lost in it or you can just take it as information and figure it out for yourself. I mean, that's the whole thing about truth mongers. I don't want to force anybody to be scared or anything like that. Oh, it's a
no, no,
conspiracy. They're taking over. It's aliens. Not like that at all. It's meant to be a thought provoking
yeah.
discussion.
I see. Yeah, I see it the same. I see it as a maybe we can hopefully get people to research. Not that we know everything because we don't,
Right.
get people to research and enjoy the research, because I enjoy research, and I researched Easter Island a lot before I went, so I knew
Sure.
where I was going, and that's only 7 miles by 3. It's only a little triangle in the middle of nowhere. So,
Look how much
but when I
they
got,
discovered since you've gotten back. Look how much they've
that's,
discovered there since then.
well,
God,
I need to have
incredible.
a conversation with my the guy I stayed, whose hotel I stayed in, call it a hotel, a motel, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
his chalets. And he was convinced that he was 100% Rapa Nui, and was very proud of that. And since I got back, they found out that 17% of their DNA is South American.
Yeah.
They deny that. He would be appalled by that.
Well,
so I want to go back and tell him. Maybe I'll go back, but maybe I won't mention it. I'll shout it down to him. I'll shout down to him when I'm getting on the plane, when I'm leaving. Oh, by the way. But it's, I think we're I think we're getting somewhere with these things, and but only time will tell. But I do think that it's those handbag things that convince me.
mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's whatever it is. It's the same thing, and it's just they're all over the world on the monolith. So
yeah, and that is a whole nother discussion, because that is the handbag throughout worldwide is been on these stones for forever. There's got to be some connection, whether it's a identification thing to where they could harness the power that's there, or there's all kinds of things that it could be. Yeah, I mean, it just blows my mind.
I think a lot of it is to do with flight. And when I say flight, I don't necessarily mean flying around in an aircraft. I mean moving from here to somewhere. And I don't mean on this planet.
I don't think it was just knowing. It probably didn't have just one thing. It did. It probably did multiple things. They wouldn't just have one thing and it just take one bag for one thing. It would be a multitude of options.
It's a laptop, isn't it? It's like
it's a phone. It's a phone. Essentially.
Some of them have got watches on, haven't they?
You're right, and that could be that could be anything. That could regulate your air, your heartbeat, whatever. It could be anything that they needed. So, but as far as technology goes, I'm sure that's exactly what it was. It's tech. It's just, what did it do? That's the main thing.
Something I meant to mention before we finish, and that they all these monoliths, I suppose they have to be, but they're the same shape, aren't they? They're always the same height, same shape, more or less the same weight,
and they're made out of the same material.
And there's some reason.
Crystalline. Something had to be crystalline. Something, It has a high concentrated crystal in it.
Yeah.
So, and I find it fascinating that the same type of crystals that are in these are in our brains. I mean, you can do the research. Our brains are full of crystals. So, I mean, it's just part of our makeup. And it's fascinating to me that we have a radio. Remember the crystal radios?
Crystal radio, yeah.
So why couldn't we? That's what really intrigues me, because I think that is if we could tune in to that frequency, I would be blown away about it's very intriguing to me.
The other thing is as well is how these things are constructed and their weight and their height. Where were these things made?
Right.
Gobekli Tepe. Where did they drag them from on running on trees and dragging slaves with, it's the same. It's the same thing again.
Let's be sensible. There's no. I mean, I don't see it. I don't see that happening.
It's obvious, isn't it, that they were airlifted. Somebody either negated gravity and they pushed them along, or lifted them because they were 50 feet tall, or there's something not quite right about rolling these monoliths across trees.
There are tons, and then you have to carve them. Yeah. All right, and there's no cut marks.
No.
It goes on and on. I mean, it's just the technology. Obviously, it was. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. So, you guys, please check out everything that we're doing with Truth Mongers, because I think these are very or hopefully they're intellectual breakdowns of just ideas of different mysteries.
We're just trying to get people to think.
Yeah, that's it. And we want to hear your input. If there's something that you guys find intriguing with these conversations, let us know what your experiences are with whatever the topics are that we're talking about. And check us out on YouTube on Ted Davies Artistry. We're usually doing this, probably going to do this probably every couple of weeks, maybe every month. And because there's just so many different aspects of it. I don't know what we're going to do next, but if you have any suggestions, let us know, guys. Glenn, if you have something that you want to go over, is there anything that you've got in the queue that you're thinking about?
Well, yeah, there's the 60th anniversary of JFK coming up, so I might want to do something about that.
That's
in about
a good,
a
yes.
time,
I know we talked about that. Yeah, that's great. I think that's
so
a good one.
That might be one to look at.
Okay, sounds good. So, all right, cool. I appreciate your time, man. This has been great. I'm glad that we had time to
great to be back.
Get back into it and listen to you discuss, and we can argue a little bit about different.
We don't argue. We just have a debate.
It's good. It's good stuff. So thanks again, man. We'll be talking to you guys soon.
See you soon.
Remember, search for the truth.